Hello and welcome to Connect and Collaborate. I'm Alex Hopkins, your on-air producer, and it is a beautiful day outside. Very excited. One of those Colorado days that's been not too terribly hot, but I definitely wish I was outside doing something else. But I get to talk about those something else's I would like to do with some engineers that built some really, really cool things. So we're going to talk a typical Colorado summer day. But before we do that, I should probably introduce my guests. So here right next to me is Matt Guerin. He is with the RMH Group. And you're going to talk to me about the Breckenridge Brewery and Farmhouse restaurant. How are you?
Yes, I'm doing great.
Wonderful. So tell me a little bit about yourself and a little bit about the RMH Group.
Sure. So I'm a mechanical engineer. I've been practicing for about 7 years, professional engineer. And so my company does mechanical, electrical, and plumbing consulting engineering. And we kind of focus in a lot of different markets, but district energy, hospitals, government work, higher education, and aerospace facilities are kind of our bread and butter.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. That's kind of a big gamut to run.
Yeah.
Awesome. But I'm excited to hear more about the Breckenridge Brewery in just a moment. Right across from me here, I have Rick McLaughlin. He is with Merrick Company, and we're going to talk about the River Run Park that is in Sheridan, Colorado. But first of all, Rick, how are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
Yes, wonderful. So tell me a little bit about yourself, your background, and also a little bit about Merrick Company.
Well, I've been practicing for about 35 years. I'm a civil engineer, a specialization in water resources. I'm a kayaker and kind of a surfer, and have been doing really fun work for a long time. I work for Merrick Company. Merrick is a 64-year-old employee-owned engineering firm. Architecture and survey. We have around 600 people and are the largest consulting firm headquartered in Colorado. And we're well diversified in areas of infrastructure, national security, energy, and life sciences.
Oh, fantastic. So there's a little bit of overlap here, too. Mm-hmm. You said kind of a surfer. As you know, in Colorado, we're landlocked, sadly. Mm-hmm. So where do you surf?
I surf on the river.
Yeah.
And which is what we're going to talk about today. And I also starting to surf on lakes behind boats. So.
Fantastic. Good for you. I definitely want to get into that. And then we'll have to talk stats on the break because I'll go toe-to-toe with you on some surfing. Okay. And my other guest in studio here is Matt Andrews with Muller Engineering Company. And we are talking the Peaks to Plains Trail that is from Jefferson and Clear Creek Counties, right?
Correct.
Yes. So first of all, how are you?
I'm doing great.
Yes. I bet you are also wishing we were outside in the sun too.
It's a little hot today.
Yes. Oh, okay. But yeah, it would be a nice day for a bike ride though, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about yourself, your background, and Muller.
I'm also a civil engineer. I've been practicing for about 29 years. Last 21 with Muller. And so Muller is a 120-person civil engineering consulting firm headquartered in Lakewood. And what we design is similar to some of these guys, is stuff that listeners use every day. Roads, drainage and flood control facilities, water and wastewater utility facilities, and most importantly for today, trails.
Yes. Absolutely wonderful to hear it. One of the things, so first of all, this is a monthly show that I do with the American Council of Engineering Companies of Colorado, ACEC Colorado, of which you are all members, yes?
Correct.
Perfect. All right. So we'll talk a little bit more at the end about that and how other people can find more information. But what I try to do every month is talk about this everyday engineering, right? Because I think so many people forget about how much engineering is truly all around us all the time. So to demonstrate that, we're going to talk a typical summer day. I want to start out here with the Peaks to Plains Trail here with you, Matt. One of my favorite things to do, especially if I play hooky from work or on a nice Saturday, Sunday morning, I love going for a bike ride first thing of the day, right? It's not too terribly hot just yet. So tell me about this project from start to finish, if you will.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, helpful piece of background. Most people, I feel like, probably don't realize this. You drive up US 6 from Golden to Idaho Springs. You know, you're going to Gamble and Blackhawk. You're going the back way to I-70 to the mountains. But as you drive up that corridor, Jefferson County Open Space and Clear Creek County Open Space actually own virtually all of the land that you see in that canyon except for the highway right-of-way. So the two of them got together and realized, if we could put a trail, a concrete 10-foot wide, roughly, concrete trail through the 15 miles through that canyon, that would then provide kind of the missing link in what could be a larger 65-mile trail system that goes all the way from Levelland Pass in Clear Creek County all the way down to the South Platte River in the Denver metro area, connecting into some of the existing trails that are already in those areas. So that's the larger vision for the Peaks to Plains Trail project.
Fantastic. I like hearing that. One of the things, so I've been in Colorado for about 9 years now myself, and good golly, everyone loves to be in shape, and one of those is definitely doing those bike projects. So the intent behind that, I imagine, was obviously playing into the big outdoor economy that we have here in Colorado.
Absolutely. That larger vision will allow for folks to potentially ride a bike all the way from Denver up to places in Clear Creek County. But what it also does in the short term, it takes a lot of time and a lot of money to reach a vision like that, especially in constrained terrain like the canyon. And so that project will be slowly built over time as they can find different pots of money to get different segments built. So the segment that we've built so far is about a 4-mile stretch spanning the county line up there near the Highway 119 and 6 intersection.
Fantastic. So what was your specific role for this project?
My specific role, I was the design manager.
Okay.
On a design build team. So my firm designed the project, and we were teamed with a contractor that built it at the same time. And really, I guess specifically my role as design manager was to figure out a way to fit this trail into all the difficult topographic constraints that are in a mountain river canyon.
Yeah, so tell me about that. I was going to say, as beautiful as that is, I'm imagining there was some maybe access issues that we had.
Yeah. Yeah, and that kind of goes back to the vision a little bit, actually, the access issues. So basically, ultimately, yes, it'd be nice to be able to ride a bike through the canyon, right? Which you can't do today. But in the interim, there's all this land that the county's owned, but there wasn't great access to it, right? And so you have this, if you want to go rock climbing or fishing or hiking or something like that, typically in the canyon what you have to do is pull off somewhere along the shoulder of this busy 2-lane highway, and you've got cars and casino buses and gravel trucks all whizzing by you, right? It's not a really relaxing mountain recreational experience that maybe you were looking for. So one of the big benefits of the project is that we were able to go in and provide some safe parking lots off the roadway, and then build this 4-mile stretch of trail so far that's completely separated from the highway. And so you do have access now to some of those rock climbing areas. You can go fishing either right from the trail, or we've got some gates and other places you can get right to the river's edge without having to fight the traffic on the highway.
Yes, which is glorious, and there's more and more of it coming, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that is exciting. So far we have 4 miles built. Tell me a little bit more about the outcomes. What kind of feedback are you hearing? I for one have not tried it out yet, but it's definitely on my list now.
We hear nothing but great feedback from folks who visited it. People think it's beautiful. They're really excited to have that extra access to the canyon. The times I go up there, I feel like it's most rewarding when you see a family with 2 kids on skateboards, somebody else pushing a stroller, somebody else is on a mountain bike, and somebody else is on a bike with training wheels, right? And all of those people can can use the trail
Yes.
equally as easily.
Yes, that does make life a lot easier. Thank you very much for that overview. I really appreciate it. So I want to move on to the River Run Park here. As I said, Colorado is a little bit landlocked. And I just recently had a conversation with one of my friends about how many people I don't feel like utilize lakes and stuff enough here. So I, for one, was super excited to see more about this River Run Park. And again, so this is at the end. This is going to be near the South Platte River as well. So close enough to the end of the bike trail, yeah? When we get that finished?
It's pretty good distance between them, but...
Oh, okay. All right. Well, now I know that. But again, River Run Park is in Sheridan. So tell me about the vision for that and the inspiration.
So the history of River Run Park really is a culmination of design of kind of in-river whitewater recreation that really began in the 1970s with Confluence Park. Confluence Park was the first kind of man-made or designed in-river whitewater facility in the country. Huh. And back then, the Greenway Foundation and the Mile High Flood District and the city of Denver kind of started this innovation of including recreational features in what would otherwise be kind of utilitarian small dams and diversions and things like that. And so about 35 years ago, I was a kayaker and I could program a computer, and my mentor had actually designed the first Confluence Park, so I got kind of started that way, and since then not only our firm but others have exported this kind of technology to California, Pennsylvania, Maryland, all really across the country. In fact, most of my work has been in the South.
Yeah. Oh, that's really cool. So I like that you are a national model then. Of sorts.
Well, I think we all are.
Yes, yes. Well, Colorado is the leader in a lot of things, but that's exciting to know that Confluence Park is also a part of that story.
Very much so.
Yes, that is awesome. So your role specifically then on this project, how was that for you?
So our company's role was really to lead this interdisciplinary team of landscape architects, ecologists, and fisheries expert to kind of meet this broad goal, a range of goals for this park and this river restoration. On the engineering side, we really focused on the recreation. For a lot of people don't know what river surfing is. It's not commonly known, and basically what we do is create a standing wave in the river, and then people go on bodyboards or surfboards or kayaks and tubes and everything else. So it's they're in nature, they're very unique. They're very and when they occur very infrequently. So the role of our primary role, I suppose, was to kind of create this attraction that would then kind of be the heart of this river park. Yeah. And then more of our typical roles are our flood control, right? That's kind of first and foremost, maintenance, safety. And then fish habitat, aquatic interests, and then the integration into the Mary Carter Greenway that ran along the river, that runs along the river.
Fantastic. So I just to reiterate here that surf wave, this is the first low flow recreational surf wave.
It is.
Yeah.
There's been a few in Europe, and we've designed some in Idaho and a couple other places, but those all require a lot of water, and in nature they require a whole bunch of water.
Yeah.
But we thought that we could do it. The ones in Europe are designed in very controlled conditions, in canals and things, and so this was the first project where we really tried to get something that worked at the lower flow ranges, which we have to deal with.
Interesting. Do you mind explaining in layman's terms how that works?
Well, I can try.
Yes, I appreciate that.
I'll try to keep out the jargon, but it'll be tough. So what we do is instead of a dam, right? So there's a lot of little dams in rivers that tend to divert water or control to keep the river from moving around or degrading and doing things. So instead of that, what we do is build kind of a man-made rock structure that kind of mimics maybe a rapid or something, a little drop. And as part of that, when the water kind of falls over this little structure, this I guess pile of rocks, that it creates a little formation. And so what we try to do is make that formation a wave. And to do that, we kind of cheat a little bit in that we've developed something called a wave shaper, which is a little vane that kind of sits on the bottom of the river and moves up and down, and it only moves like several inches and can really make this wave occur over this wide range of flows.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, that's awesome. Now, how big is this? So we say low flow, but how big does this wave get? I mean, we're clearly not talking like barrel waves, right?
Well, no, we don't have enough water to do a barrel wave. But the feature, these are fairly small features, maybe 12, 15 feet wide. They kind of vary. So we focus the whole river down to a very small thing, or at least most of the river. And then we try to create a wave that may be 3 feet tall with that kind of flow.
Yeah. I love that. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So I imagine that this has had some really good outcomes. Are a lot of people visiting this?
It is. They are. It's really neat to go down. I would take my daughter out there to try to teach her to kayak and surf, and we would go out in the morning because she didn't want to be around a lot of other people. And we'd be out there at 7 o'clock in the morning, and there'd be people out there all the time.
Wow.
And it's on the weekends. It's packed, and it's pretty unusual because it was a very industrialized a section of river. There's recycling plants there, and not a whole lot of folks around. But now it's being used by all sorts of people.
Yeah, that's super exciting.
Yeah, it's a fun.
Yeah. And now, how's your daughter doing with her lessons? How far is she? Is she real confident in her skills?
Well, she moved to California, so she must have liked it. So.
Well, there you go. See, I think that's a good review on those lessons. That's awesome. So here to the Breckenridge Brewery, we've had our bike ride this morning. We got to kayak or learn a little bit of surfing. I need a beer. Gotta have it,
yeah.
Right? So at Colorado, we have well over 300 breweries here. But you guys were in on this project, and it's also a farmhouse restaurant.
Yeah.
Which is kind of exciting because not all breweries have food. And while I love a good food truck, sometimes it's nice to just have food available at the brewery itself. So tell me about the project vision, a little bit of the background here.
Sure. So Breckenridge Brewery, they kind of originated over there off Kalamath downtown. And one of their beers, 471 IPA, is actually named after that spot. So that's kind of cool little lineage that they've got to carry through. But they were just growing, and they needed somewhere to expand. And so the owners just had this vision to create kind of a new complex where people could go off of a bike ride or hanging out in the river. It's off Santa Fe and pretty much 470. And so it's a nice community area that they thought that they could bring a lot of people to. So they envisioned some sort of farmhouse concept where, they had a farmhouse restaurant, and then they had a brew house where they were, creating their beer, and then a whole nother facility for their bottling, canning, and kegging.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay. I'm digging this. So I'm actually in my head, this is probably not what it looks like, but I'm imagining like a little bit of Wizard of Oz, but instead of like the old barn, it's a brewery. It's what I've got pictured in my head for it.
Yeah, I mean, it's got a rustic vibe to it, at least from the outside, And the architect kind of tried to really keep that vision. And I think the same for the owner. And so that carried through in certain areas. And then, we got into the production facility, and it was a little bit more of an industrial design. So it was kind of unique because there were so many different design strategies going on throughout the whole complex.
Yes. Yes. So talking about those design strategies, explain to me some of the unique MEP features.
Sure. So we wanted to make sure that we were saving as much energy as possible. And so a few things that we did in the production facility and in the main, air handling for the farmhouse, we used evaporative cooling, which I'm sure everybody at home, most people have swamp coolers, right? They're just very effective, very energy efficient. So we use those. And then in the brew house, we try to keep the aesthetics of the ceiling, clean.
Yes.
And in order to do that, you can't really bring in ductwork. So we use natural ventilation, the air coming in through those windows, and we use these destratification fans. And they're these large fans. If you go into, an industrial building, they move really slow, but what they do is they mix that air in the space and provide a more comfortable environment without, bringing in true, air conditioning.
Yes. Which would ruin the beer overall.
Oh, of course.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Tell me more about this unique tour experience.
Yeah, so the architects basically made this route that folks would come in to check out the brewery, and you start out in the brew house. They've got a nice little tasting room area where we put in all of our plumbing, sinks, and all of that, and they all gather, have tastings, and then they're guided through the brew house, all the kettles and everything, and then brought into the production facility. And they've got this cool little elevated platform where you can go look at all the, fermentation tanks and bright tanks, and it's kind of a unique experience. Yeah.
Fantastic. So obviously it's a brewery in Colorado. Not a whole lot of people will be mad about that, but I'm assuming you're getting some pretty good feedback from the public.
Yeah. Going there myself and taking members of, my family and my wife's family over there, and just, I think, we touched on that a little bit. It's probably one of the best perks of the job is having a project, that you get to truly enjoy, because not all projects are like that. And so seeing people there, seeing the place packed, and there's concerts there and stuff. So it's really neat to see that outcome.
Yeah. I think that might be one of the times in your careers that you guys actually get to truly pat yourselves on the back a little bit, because you guys aren't great at doing that, and you should be better at patting yourselves on the back for your projects. But I imagine that this is really rewarding when you see all of these people, all of this getting solidly used. I have lots of questions, so thankfully we have another segment coming up. But something I would like for you guys to chew on before we get there, I got to ask specifically more about the engineering side of all of these projects. So I'll have a round of questions for you guys when we come back, but definitely want to know how the engineering design positively affected the outcome for each of your design projects. When we come back, we'll start again with the Peaks to Plains Trail. But we do need to take a quick break, so be sure in a few minutes here we're going to take that break. We'll be back in about 5 minutes. Click on the link below in the description. You can find more specifically about each one of these projects, where you can go when those places are open and you can enjoy them. Please do that before the summer runs out in September. But we are here on Connect and Collaborate. And be sure to like and subscribe our YouTube page while you're here. You can find this show and more at cobrt.com/radio-podcast. And you can also scroll down that page, look for all of the past ACEC shows. Again, that's the American Council of Engineering Companies of Colorado. So stay with us. We will be back momentarily again to talk with Matt Andrews, Rick McLaughlin, and Matt Guerin, and we're going to talk more about this everyday engineering and a little bit of summer fun that is happening. So we'll be right back. Hello, and welcome to Connect and Collaborate. Once again, I'm Alex Hopkins, your on-air producer, and I am doing another episode of American Council of Engineering Companies of Colorado, ACEC Colorado, and we are talking everyday engineering, summer fun projects. And so, fascinating conversation. We are talking Peaks to Plains Trail here with Matt Andrews of Muller Engineering Company, and that runs from Jefferson Clear Creek down to South Platte River. We got about 4 miles on that so far, right?
Correct.
Yes. So what is the project finish date? Wait, or is that running for that? The whole project is 4 miles. Am I mistaken?
The 4 miles are built.
Okay.
And little preview for later. There's a little bit more coming soon, and
Cool.
And then the other probably 10-ish miles is unknown, depending on when they can find
That's
the funding.
right. Yes, which hopefully we will get some infrastructure things fixed, but that is neither here nor there for this conversation. And then we also talked about the River Run Park with Rick McLaughlin of Merrick Company, and this one is in the South Platte River. South Platte River. I would like to speak today. Promise you I would. And so that one is really cool. It is the first low-flow recreational surf wave. So that was really fascinating for me. And then we also talked about the Breckenridge Brewery and Farmhouse restaurant here with Matt Guerin of the RMH Group. And so that one was really fun. It's in Littleton area.
Yep, Littleton.
Yes. Yeah, so thank you, gentlemen, for telling me about those projects. But the first question I want to ask you, I'm going to ask more in depth now about the engineering side of things of each of these projects. So I'm going to start here with you, Matt. How did the engineering design positively affect your outcome of the Peaks to Plains Trail?
Well, in that particular project, it's when you think about a canyon environment, it's by its definition, it's constrained, right? You've got this river that gouged out the mountains there. In this particular canyon, there's a highway up one side of it, so there's not a whole lot of space left to squeeze a trail in, right? And so one of the big things we had to do was we spent a lot of time targeting our trail alignment to get through the canyon and preserve a lot of the significant natural features that make it a desirable place to visit, right? Rock outcroppings. There's a lot of really nice trees in certain areas. There's endangered species habitat. There's the creek itself that we wanted to minimize disturbance to, and so really that was the bulk of the problem we had to solve with the design, was just how to preserve all those great features at the same time we're weaving this new trail through there. And then the other side of it was just in like selecting the right materials so that we didn't create this like steel and glass, creation in a place that's full of green trees and brown rocks and things like that, right? And so we really tried to work hard to use native materials. We built walls out of rocks that are native to the canyon. We colored the concrete to complement the colors in the canyon, and kind of used weathered steel elements in our bridges and railings to kind of blend in with that kind of natural materials feel that you have there in the canyon.
That's awesome. So even though we are putting this great project that hopefully gets more people into the outdoors, right? That's typically the goal of something like this. You are also minimizing that disruption, which is really exciting because we like to keep our lands pretty pristine here in Colorado. It's a big part of who Colorado is. So it's exciting to know that you were minimizing disruption overall, but also it's not a glaring, outstanding building of a project right in your face with pieces that just stick out, right?
Correct. Yeah, we our clients and the Muller staff and our contractor partners, we all like to say our goal was to make the trail seem as if it was always there, or it was always meant to be there.
Yeah, absolutely. Which is awesome to see that you guys were making such a valiant effort on that. So let's talk a little bit about the social and economic outcomes of this project. Obviously, the social aspect, you're getting people outdoors. As you mentioned, it's wide enough that you can have the mountain biker on it, and also the little girl with the training wheels on her bike, right? And perhaps some kids on a skateboard or a scooter, right? So there's plenty of room for everyone in every age to join out.
Sure. On the social and economic side, some of the benefits, we talked about the challenges of access, right?
Yeah.
And so just the improved safety now that you have with the off-road parking lots and things like that of the access was a big social benefit. Some other things that we did along the way that were kind of hidden, there's a lot of kayaking and whitewater rafting that happens in the canyon, and while we were squeezing this trail through there, we had to work with a lot of those stakeholders to make sure that we were maintaining places that they can put the boats in, take the boats out in a safe fashion. We had one particular constrained area where we just had to build the trail in the water, much to the chagrin of the whitewater community. But we worked with them to try to do things to enhance that at the same time, such as there's one pretty nasty rapid through there, and just downstream of that, we were able to put some rocks in the channel in a strategic fashion. Now I'm getting into Rick's area here a little bit, but to create some eddies so that when the whitewater rafting customers fall out of their raft in that rapid, they had a place to swim over into the eddy and climb through a gate to get onto the trail to escape the water.
Saving lives. See?
Yes.
Saving lives. I love it. So talk to me a little bit about how this specific project helps increase public awareness or enthusiasm, perhaps, about the role of engineering in everyday lives.
I think the biggest thing with the trail is just, I mentioned it before, the fact that you can get a family out there with people of various physical abilities, on this fairly flat, wide concrete trail through the canyon, where you can have, the older folks in the family, you can have the middle generations, and you can have, kids who are in a stroller, all out enjoying the canyon and the mountains, all in the same facility at the same time, everybody having a good time.
Fantastic. Yes. So just to reiterate one more time to the audience out here, if you're enjoying stuff, it was built by an engineer. Yes. So I'm going to turn here to you, Rick. Kind of same rundown for me, a little bit more on the inside of the engineering of stuff, which I know I made you get pretty technical with me on the surf wave, which was exciting, and I can't wait to try that out. But starting off here with the engineering design positively affecting the outcome, how specifically do you think that role played?
Oh, I think it was tremendous. Just again, being able to draw people to the area really with a hydraulic feature was really pretty interesting. We know from other work that if we can get somebody in the water kind of recreating, that we can get 8 to 10 other people out watching and being part of that environment. So I think that's a huge deal. And then and again, integrating and creating a recreation experience for a wide range of people. Business people that get out of work and they go on a lunch break to play. You got tubers out there, surfers, and just a really wide range of folks.
Yes, absolutely. Which, as I said before, I really feel like Colorado sometimes misses out on that water aspect, and to know that more and more people are focusing on improving those areas. It's always exciting in my book. I, for one, am ready for California to drop off so we can be one state closer to the ocean, but that's just me. So I want to talk to you. I imagine that working in water anyway, you already have a lot of challenges. The role of engineering when it comes to any water projects is a little bit different. There's, you have your own court of law, even with water engineering, right? So I want to talk a little bit about some maybe complex issues that you didn't think you were going to run into, but maybe popped up throughout the project.
Or
even if you expected them.
Ones we didn't expect.
Yeah.
So I think kind of one of the toughest challenges, and it's not really that we deal with is, and kind of on the non-technical side, is keeping projects like this, getting them funded, and keeping them going. So this project had a gestation period of maybe 5 years, and to try to get the funders who all have to kind of different interests focused continually for 5 years is a challenge. Fortunately, they weren't relying on me for doing that. But I think this project was actually built in a congressionally authorized flood control reach, and I think as such it was the first kind of whitewater recreation project that has been constructed in such a reach. So permitting and flood control is very challenging, probably a little bit more than we may have expected.
Okay. Well, regulation, red tape, you know?
Yeah.
So 5 years in the running, but the nice thing about this, because Confluence Park started as a bit of a blueprints, if you will, you didn't have to reinvent the wheel, right?
No, we're kind of continually refining. So, like when I started kayaking, we did long river reaches, and so kind of the first designs were actually for that, and also for slalom kayaking, which is an Olympic type of event.
Yeah.
But and then kind of graduated towards kayaking and things, and of course tubing and personal watercraft are always a big deal. But really over the last, again, 5-10 years, we've been focusing on board sports just because they're a lot more accessible. There's a whole culture built around those, and it's really pretty fun.
Yeah, awesome. I imagine that your takeaway and the kind of excitement and pride you get from your work is pretty awesome and plentiful, right?
It is. It's kind of neat on a personal level to kind of invite my kids to come and play and stuff that we worked in. But I think what's even more so and kind of unexpected, I guess, is we've noticed at River Run and a lot of other venues around the country that vets tend to really get involved in these type of venues and whitewater recreation. And it's really very interesting, and that's very rewarding to me personally.
Yeah, absolutely. What an aspect. I never even thought of that. Yeah, that's got to feel really good. So that being said, we know that the public is aware and they generally get pretty enthused about going and doing water sports and other recreational activities, especially in Colorado. But how much do you think people are gaining enthusiasm, again, about the engineering aspect of these?
Well, I think they are... the reality is, most people don't really understand the inner workings of a toilet. And it's just not very interesting, or it's been around for a long time. But I think when you get involved in something when you recreate in something like that, and you get the firsthand, people start asking questions. Well, how did this form, and how come it's a wave, or whatever? I think that gets people interested. So that's it.
Right, the best thing I think we can do for at least on this show and with engineering is to get people curious, right? At least ask questions that you aren't sure about, because engineering is such a broad career that you can have. And I have a few questions for how you guys specifically ended up with your specific titles. But before I do that, I have a little bit more for you on the engineering side of things for the brewery and the Farmhouse restaurant, again, Breckenridge Brewery in Littleton, which if you haven't, please go. Sounds like I've already had a few beers. I promise you I have not. So again, on this side of engineering, what part of that design do you think was the best outcome? You mentioned that there was a unique design in and of itself.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I think aside from, like traditional MEP, mechanical, electrical, and plumbing consulting engineering, usually our priority is, space heating and cooling. What was cool about this project is we were part of the brewing process. We created the utilities to allow the brewing process to go. So we had a steam generator that created the steam that went into all the brew kettles.
Nice.
We had the chiller, a modular chiller system that they can add to as they add more, fermentation space that cool the beer down, after it's been cooked to get ready, for the bottling and the canning. And we provided all the CO2 and nitrogen, and we did nitrogen detection and humidity and a cellaring space. So a lot of unique engineering principles were used just because the space was so unique in different areas.
Yeah, well, and when you're talking, the electrical stuff and working with temperatures, it's super important in the brewing process anyway. So to be a part of that, that's super awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. Did you ask for any beers to be named after you? 'Cause that would have been, I would have put that in the contract.
I was expecting to have, a few more free beers, but I think because the contractors were building this complex, they definitely got the lion's share of the free beer. So it's okay. It's all right.
It. Yeah. Yeah, you should get a badge or something that you can flash when you walk in.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I helped here.
I will next time I'm in, I'll stop by and request the badge as such.
Absolutely. Yes, of course, because that obviously exists. So I imagine, of course, with every project, and you both have mentioned your share of the challenges that you faced. What kind of challenges did you run into with this? A little less outdoor stuff that we needed to be mindful of, but I'm sure you had your fair share.
Sure. I think one of the most difficult pieces of this was those brew kettles that they have in the brew house. They were provided by a German company. So everything was all metric.
Which wasn't that better? Don't you technically like metric?
I like metric,
okay.
But mixing metric and English is always fun, of course.
Okay.
But they also they move their decimal and comma in the wrong, not in the wrong, but opposite of what we have in America.
Yes.
So, looking at the specs of the equipment and, everything's just tens of, or hundreds of GPM or, off from what you're used to.
Yeah.
It was a head scratcher there for a little bit, but I think coordinating with those guys, because they were off-site and we had coordination meetings and going back and forth saying, are we providing the correct pressure, the correct amount of steam, and chilled water. And so that was probably the most complex.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. I guess I never really thought about products from different areas, but particularly, Europe and having the metric system. And you're right. Yeah. The comma and the period are switched. Yeah. That throws a lot of things off. So I want to ask you also, so tell me what some of the energy efficiency measures were used in the design.
Sure. So the evaporative cooling was one of them, and then natural ventilation. But we also used condensing boilers for the space heating.
Okay.
And so that provided heat in the farmhouse as well as the brew house. And then we put in a design for a water reclamation system. So, after all the water had gone through that's not being used to produce the beer, they could collect it. And the idea was to use that as irrigation water for hop fields in the future. So I haven't been able to check in on that, but we did have that design in place, and it's kind of a very unique feature.
I like that. So how often do you go into these projects that somebody plans out something like that right away?
There's times where clients will want to strive for a certain energy efficiency, and working with local utilities, they have certain programs. And so you kind of go in at a benchmark and say, this system's going to help us reach this level of energy efficiency savings. And there's kind of a back and forth. But usually, at the beginning, there's sort of a platform that's set, and that changes based on budget, duration, how everything's going with the design.
Yeah. Fantastic. Well, guys, we have a few minutes left here. So obviously, next steps, we got to talk about the future, right? So as exciting as these projects are, and ones that I'm going to be trying very soon, very excited for this, because there is still 1 month of summer. I feel like summer came late this year. So I have a feeling we'll roll right into October with this nice hot weather. That being said, what's next on the plate? Any other fun projects that we can look at going into fall and winter? Matt?
Well, I don't know about this fall or this winter, but there actually is another section, a couple more sections of the trail that are coming up. Clear Creek County is just about to start construction on another half mile of their trail from Tunnel 5 up to the Tunnel 6 Oxbow.
Nice.
In their county, and then for folks here in in Denver, a lot more accessible one is Jefferson County currently has started construction of about another 1.5 to 2 miles of their trail connecting into the Golden area, the trails and the Whitewater Park down in Golden, all the way up through the Tunnel 1 area in that county, which is just a fabulous site with some spectacular rock climbing up there. There's a really cool old irrigation flume up there that we're going to be restoring and opening it up as a hiking trail. So it's
That's cool.
a lot more than just the concrete trail in that stretch, and a lot more parking than is there today.
Yes, which is always helpful as Colorado continues to grow. We're definitely going to need some more parking.
For sure.
Yeah. So what's next for you, Rick?
Well, things are already happening. People have seen River Run and really like it. We're working on a project for Adams County and the River District again on Clear Creek. So that'll be kind of a really neat project, and we're also looking at a couple more north around 88th and 140th or so on the Platte River. So.
Fantastic. So is it going to be more of the surf waves or different projects altogether? How much can you tell me before you get in trouble?
There's nothing too secret. We mix it up a little bit.
Okay.
We're going to try kind of a tubing section that kind of has a continuous little riffle for tubing, because I mean tubers and what we call personal watercraft are still the primary user in most of these venues. So we're going to try a little something different there, and then also kind of focus on surfing and also on kayaking as well.
Yeah.
So.
Ooh, I like it. All right. And for you, Matt, too.
Yes. So obviously my buildings are, indoors, so it's a little bit more difficult to find a more fun project. But one that came to my mind is some of the electrical engineers in my office are working on replacing some of the heating in sports stadium fields.
Okay.
So, in the past, traditionally, we've used piping and hot water to keep the temperature of the field, to what the facility folks want. So we're putting in these electric resistors, and it's tighter temperature control, and we're doing several stadiums across the country, so it's pretty exciting.
That is really exciting. Yeah, I guess you just blew my mind. I didn't know that's how they were heated in the first place. So thanks. See?
There you go.
This is why I have you guys in. I learn something new every time you guys come in. So really exciting stuff. Looking forward to seeing more. I'm ready to get out there and enjoy all of these. But one more time for the audience, in the description below here on our YouTube page, please click on that link. You can find more information about all of these projects, exactly when all of them will be open. Very excited for that. Also, please be sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube page while you're here. You can find this show and more at cobrt.com/radio-podcast. Type in ACEC Colorado, just scroll down the page. You can find all the past shows that we've done there. Also, check out all of our social media. Like us on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter. We are all over the place. Thank you so much, gentlemen. It has been an absolute pleasure today. I really appreciate you coming in and talking about your projects.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.